Hi. Hi, my name is Chris. I like to talk about pop culture, and today we are going over the Grammys 2021 ceremony. Happened last Saturday. We will be talking about many things. I'm wearing my glasses so you can see the ring light. I apologize for that if that's annoying, but I want you to be able to see my face. So, before I start, I'm refilming. I filmed this yesterday, but I had a headache and it was kind of nasty, so I'm filming it again today. I just want to restate the thesis statement of this channel because it's going to put in context how I kind of feel about the Grammys. Sorry, that's annoying. It annoys me when I see that. When I see the reflection of the ring light in people's glasses, I'm like, ugh. Because at least the reflection of the light in my eyeballs, better. Okay. The point of this channel, right, the thesis, the underlying philosophy to all these videos is that popular things are good. Popular things that a lot of people like have something worth exploring in it, right? So you know what, if a lot of people like a song, a lot of people like a band, a lot of people like a TV show, to me there's something worth looking into there, and I go in with the assumption that there's something good about this thing, right? And I look for the things that people like. That means that this channel is the actual opposite of the Recording Academy or the Recording Academy judges, because the Recording Academy is a mess and terrible. And so this video talking about the Grammys 2020, it's going to come from two angles. There's going to be Rational Brain, and Rational Brain is going to talk about how this Grammy Awards has been better historically than other Grammy Awards, but some of the awards highlight it, some of the snubs and some of the wins kind of highlight, and the way some people kind of won, especially in regards to Beyonce, kind of highlight the way the Academy is set up to block out and keep out certain types of music and certain types of people. Mostly black people, right? Like, we'll just be honest, right? Like, it was created. There's a video in the description that Mike the Snare did about the Grammys, and it went in really deep to the history of the Grammys and how the Grammys were created to reward good music. But in the 50s, at that time, good music for them was specifically music that was not like Chuck Berry and black people creating rock and roll. It was more like Frank Sinatra, and like, while there were some exceptions to the rules, right, like, it was very much created to promote white types of art instead of other types of art. So that's definitely still prevalent today. It is. So watch this video first and then watch the Mike the Snare video, because I think it sheds a lot of light on what's happening, and also, again, is what makes the Grammys the antithesis to what I am. Okay, so two brains. The rational brain admitting that this was better than it has been in certain years, but oh my god, are they so far behind that we might as well just get rid of it, right? And then Army Brain. And Army Brain is very angry and wants it just to Hulk smash. So you'll know when I'm speaking Army. I have my baby right here, my Tata, right? So when you see him, Army Brain. Don't see him, no Army Brain, okay? So we're going to start with Rational Brain. Rational Brain of me and the award show in general. This I enjoyed watching the Grammys. I thought the performances were better than it has been in past years. I thought that it was, I mean, the highlights of the night for me were WAP, BTS, of course, but we'll get there. And then Dua Lipa's performance, I thought, but then even then, just because those were the highlights, I did think that everyone's performance was really good. I thought Taylor Swift's was actually a little boring, compared to like everyone else that was going on, like compared to like even Harry and Billy, like it was a little low energy. So, DaBaby had a really good performance. There was Little Baby, he had a really good performance. So, and then of course like Megan and Cardi, like you can't even do that. Doja's performance of Say So, I liked that mix of Say So, but I wish it was better lit. Like, I felt like I couldn't really see her. So that's all. But that's often my complaint when people do darker things, or performances that have darker backgrounds, or are supposed to be lit like that. I'm always like, I can't see you. So there's that. Post Malone's performance was to me. The country performances were shoved all together, so we had to sit through 30 minutes of country music, and John Mayer was there, and I was The reason why I think this was better, performance and production wise, than past years is because we have a new producer, Ben Winston. He is the producer for James Corden's late night show, and so he definitely pulled his strings and his contacts that he knew to get fresh new talent in there, right? Which ended up being kind of contradictory to the way that people were awarded. So now let's talk about the big winners and the people who were snubbed, right? I'll talk about the winners first, right? Megan Thee Stallion was very clearly the biggest winner of the night. I think she took home 4 in total, and that's really great because I love Megan and she deserves that. Nothing that I say here is ever going to take that away from Megan. I'm not even going to argue that anyone else should have won the award she won, because who else had a year like Megan Thee Stallion? And now granted, like other artists, Doja had a big year, BTS had a big year, Chloe and Halle had a big year, right? But Megan deserves this. Megan deserves her Grammys. Megan deserves her accolades, right? 100%. I love that she won. Beyonce is also now the most awarded artist in Grammy history, so she has the most Grammys out of anybody. Do you see how easy that was for me to say without mentioning that Beyonce's a woman or that she's a black woman? Do you see how easy? Like, part of this push for inclusivity, right? And I'll explain this section more, because this will be section 3. But part of the Grammys marketing, especially post Deborah Dugan controversy, especially post like a ton of stuff, they're pushing to be very inclusive, very like, oh look, we're talking to younger artists, we're trying to include other artists in our stuff, right? And so for the we can't be racist. Beyonce is the most nominated, that's really what's happening. And if you look at all the coverage of this, that's like, it's just supposed to be, it's really like, oh, we're not racist, we have a black friend, like that's what's going on, right? But if you look at Beyonce's win, she has not won in a general category in over a decade. I'm not sure the exact years, but she hasn't won in a general category in over a decade. Most of her Grammy wins are in either the R&B categories or the rap categories, not the pop categories, not the general categories, right? And even then, the pop categories were mostly white people, and white people mostly won the pop categories. So, like, what are we doing, right? And so there's this there was just this line in the stand that they drew all those years ago that they haven't undrew yet, and until they undraw that line and really start thinking about what their relationship is with artists of color, with music of color, what they think they're rewarding, because I don't even think Grammy voters know what they're supposed to be voting for, what their criteria is, right? So anyways, now on to the snubs. So Megan and Beyonce were the biggest winners of the night, right? Now on to the snubs, right? Obviously, The Weeknd was not nominated. We know this. We've spoken about this. I don't know if we've spoken about this on this channel. It is absolutely insane because After Hours was one of the best albums of his career. And he had the biggest year of his life career-wise. And also, like, those songs are really good. They're really good, right? Chloe and Halle, they were nominated, but they didn't win a thing, right? Which is a damn shame. Like, the Grammy voters should be ashamed of themselves, because that album, Ungodly Hour, is so good. It's so warm. It's so like warm and fuzzy to me. I listen to it and I just have a good time. I just relax. Like, and they didn't give them a Grammy. And then of course BTS lost to Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande for pop duo group, right? So BTS was also snubbed in the nomination process, in that they had the biggest album in the world in 2020 and one of the biggest songs in the world in 2020. Certainly the biggest song in the pop duo group category, right? And I know Grammys don't take sales into account, but like certainly the biggest there, right? Before I get into Army Brain, we're about to get into Army Brain, right? Let me just talk a little bit about the history of pop duo group, and then how that describes the entire institution, right? So pop duo group was created in 2012, so it's about 10 years old, right? And it was created in 2011, implemented in 2012, right? This year, 2021, the holy year of 2021, God's blessed year, the year we're all going to be able to come out of our houses and be our best true selves, right? This year was the first year a woman collaboration with only women won pop duo group. The only other time women and only women have been nominated in this category, and by only women I mean like a song with two women, was 2015, and there were two options. You had Fancy with Iggy Azalea and Charlie XCX, and then you had Bang Bang with Ariana Grande, Jessie J, and Nicki Minaj. That year, they gave the Grammy to Say Something with Christina Aguilera. This Say Something by A Great Big World and Christina Aguilera. Now, I like the original Say Something a lot. I think it's a really nice song. I don't like the version with Christina Aguilera because she's just singing on top of them. Like there's no harmonization. There's no like, oh, like, you know, like it's just like two vocals layered on top of each other, not mixed together. And so I don't personally do not think that's Grammy worthy, as much as the original song is. The collaboration, especially over like, and again, Bang Bang and Fancy, big songs that year, right? So they passed that up, and then they did not nominate two women collaborating with each other again until 2021, when they went up against the biggest boy group in the world, biggest band in the world, period. One of the most revolutionary bands in the world, because they are proving what can be popular in Western countries. They are proving that you do not have to sing in English to take advantage of the massive music markets. Proving that anyone anywhere can be, you know, anything, right? And they gave it to Ariana Grande and Lady Gaga. That song, Rain on Me, isn't even like, before we're going into Army Brain real quick in a second, but I will just like to say, as much as I like that song, I do enjoy listening to that song. It was not as much a part of the cultural zeitgeist as Dynamite was. Dynamite fits right in on a playlist with the Dua Lipa album that went really big, and Weekends and After Hours that went really big, right? Because we had, and then even like Say So, right? Because we had an 80s disco-y type year. You know, like that's kind of what we were doing, the throwback year, right? So Rain on Me was not that, right? And so another snub I want to mention, not a single Spanish language song was nominated in any of the big four categories, right? And I think that's a really big deal because of how big that section of the industry is. And I know they have their own Grammy Award show and they have their own categories, but to me, that is just forcing people into a corner. Like, okay, you have your own thing. Stop yelling at us, right? Even though these songs are massive here, right? And the Grammys aren't supposed to be about shoving people into sections, right? Like, it's not like the Billboard Music Awards, which is about the charts in the United States, right? It's supposed to be about musical excellence. So why are you shoving musically excellent people in a corner, right? So that's a really big thing to me. Especially as we're exploring other languages now too. Like, so for Spanish, like, you know how many Spanish speakers are in the US? If you were going to just pin it to just things popular in the US, how many Spanish speakers are in this country? For not one Spanish language song to make one of the big four categories. Not great. Okay. And now, Army Brain time. The worst part about Dynamite losing is that BTS woke up at like 2 a.m. their time to sit in front of a live stream and to watch themselves lose and to not get a single minute of TV time until their pre-recorded performance. Right? Another bad part is that if you were an ARMY like me and you wanted to watch BTS's, you know, award and performance, you had to start watching at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then BTS's performance was at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Their award was announced at like 4:30, I want to say, right? So 3 p.m. Eastern to 11:30 is 8.5 hours. You would have been watching 8.5 hours. 8.5 hours of Grammy content if you had watched the whole thing. Now, the ratings are out. Only like 7.8 to 8.8 million people watch this. So armies, like, good job, armies. Like, if the BTS did not win and they were like, okay, bye, we'll watch this on YouTube later, like, fantastic, right? But the intent of this organization was to use the world's biggest fan base and the world's biggest band for views and not reward them with anything, right? Genuinely, like, their performance was fine. I love every performance. I was so pissed off, but I was still smiling watching them because, like, what can't not, right? But like, they should have had Post Malone's spot, and they should have pushed everyone else back, right? But then I would argue that Haim should not have gone. Sorry, Haim, but they should not have been third. What? Third? Like, they shouldn't have been third, right? Like, I would have just organized the performances a little differently. I would have put them right after WAP because that would have been a nice 30 minutes of performances. So, you know what? Ben Winston, okay, you know what? I just praised him. Ben Winston, you put on a very good show. I am coming for you. I'm coming for you. We're coming for you, right? I hope they never go on James Corden again for what you did to them in this award show. You know better than just, this is not like late night TV where, like, armies are fine watching at like 11:35. Yeah, because like, you only come on at 11:35. You should have put them in Post Malone's spot, and we are coming. I hope they never go on James Corden again. Ever. You've lost them. I hope they cut you off. BTS was used for views. Dynamite should have been nominated in more categories than just one. It should have won the category that it got. And the thing that's the worst about this is that they are so used to shit like this, right? Like, the BTS, if you ever looked into the story, and I would, if I were you, I would try to find like a history of BTS somewhere on YouTube. They did not come from a multi-million-dollar company. Their company is multi-millions now, right? But in the beginning, their company was broke. They were broke. They were 7 dudes that lived in a 1-bedroom apartment and slept in bunk beds together, right? Like, that's what they were. And they suffered disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. They almost broke up as a band before they even hit #1 the first time. So before any of this in the US, they almost broke up, but they stayed together and they pushed forward. And I know that's what they're going to do here. They're going to just get back up and they're just going to push forward, right? But that's hard for me as an army because, like, there's no way that we can promise that they win a Grammy. Like, it has nothing to do with us, right? So there's a possibility that they end up like Nicki Minaj, right? Influencing the culture, influencing music, pushing against the boundaries against music, and never getting recognized by the Academy beyond the occasional nomination. And that breaks my heart. But I will be with them every step of the way. I am in this army. I bleed purple, so I'm in this for life. I really hope next year they get nominated for big categories because I know whatever they come out with is going to be huge, just like Dynamite was huge. Just like Life Goes On was huge, right? So whatever they come out with is going to be bigger and better than it was before, right? I know that they're going to have the time of their life doing it. And I know that next year when Grammy nominations come around, right, they better be nominated. And even if they are nominated, even if they're nominated in every category, even the ones that don't count for, even if they're nominated in every category, I am still going to be skeptical. Like, I have a lot of demands. This award show owes a lot to my boys, okay? All right, army time over. This is what I think the problem is with the Grammys overall and the Recording Academy overall. There are two sections, right? There is the business section that runs the day-to-day of the Academy, that plans the show, that plans the little mini Recording Academy events, and then there's the voting place, right? the show planners, the actual business running. Now, before I get there, both of these are interconnected, and Deborah Dugan, who was the old CBO of the Grammys, who alleged a bunch of like stuff that was happening, a bunch of like boys club sexism, sexual harassment, bribes, all that stuff. She says that the two are explicitly linked, and they are, because the business side of things is what sets the rules for voting, and they could just change the rules at any time and the voting members won't be able to do anything. But here's the thing. This side, the business side, I think does genuinely think that they should be more inclusive and they should open up more, right? I also think that the business side wants to help court the next generation of artists. The voting block, however, is so disconnected from the cultural zeitgeist and anything that anybody actually listens to or enjoys, or what can be considered good music, that we will never, ever, with the voting block the way that it is now, with the way that voting works now, we will never, ever get to a Grammy Awards that ever recognizes the right people and ever actually judges what good music is and can be. My opinion is just get rid of it. We are wasting all of this time and money and all this time and energy on something that will never fix itself because it literally has racist origins. Get rid of it. But I mean, I know that's extreme, right? So here are the things that I would fix. If I was in charge, if they came to me and said, Christina, you get to change what the Grammys are like now, this is what I would do. Step one, purge the voter rolls. Purge them, right? Start over again. And I would have stricter requirements to be a Grammy voter, right? So here's the thing. It will be that you have to work directly with music in your day-to-day, right? So no managers, no CEOs, no CFOs, no business people, right? You have to be an engineer, you have to be a producer, songwriter, performer, recording performer, right? Somebody that works directly with music in some way, right? Now, there could be some exceptions to this rule, right? For like best recording package, but you have to work with recording packaging every day, right? Best music video, you have to work with music videos, you know? You have to have at least 10 song, I would say the voters have to have at least 10 song credits within the last 5 years, right? And the minute that lapses, they're not a voter anymore, right? That's only 2 songs a year. For some of these people, that's not that hard. Sorry. And I would have a term limit, right? So you can only vote in the Grammys for like 20 years of ceremonies and then you're out and somebody else comes in. I would also limit the voters to 10,000. It's not that's like it's like 11,000 right now. I guess we could add more voters in, but because of the way that the voting works, that more people would just make it more convoluted because there's so many releases every year. I would limit it to 10,000 people vote. And you can have more than 10,000 people be voting members, but every year, only 10,000 people get to vote. For the categories that you have to vote in categories that you are knowledgeable in and that you're invited to, right? So, like, I don't want Miranda Lambert, for example. I'm not calling her out. This is just an example. I wouldn't want Miranda Lambert to vote in the R&B categories, right? And I would say that a voting member can vote in a maximum of 5 categories plus the 4 general ones, so 9 in total, right? And then another little change I would make to the categories, I would change pop music, not just to be pop music that sounds like pop music, but pop music that was actually popular throughout the year. So someone like Megan Thee Stallion with Savage, right? Savage was a massive song over the year, right? That could have been nominated in a pop category if it wanted to be. That's the change that I would make. And in order to facilitate that change, I would also provide voting members sales data, pure sales data, so they can know what individuals are putting their money into, right? And that's the only way. I don't actually think Grammys should encroach on the sales aspect because that's covered by the Billboard Music Awards and the American Music Awards, right? So I'm okay with doing this like qualitative, like what's good music. We're rewarding the good music, right? But I wouldn't extend it beyond just having that data accessible to members. I wouldn't actually apply it there, right? And then last but certainly not least, I would get rid of those damn committees. There's no reason to. There's no reason. There's no reason. The committees are such a pain point and such a point for corruption. Like, there's no way, especially regarding The Weeknd, there's no way that The Weeknd wasn't one of the top voted albums in the first round. So the way it works, it goes to a first round, and then it goes to a committee. Some awards, not all awards, go to a committee. So Pop Duo Group is not a committee, so it just had 2 rounds of voting, right? But for the main 4, right, like, you have round 1, it goes to a committee picks the nominations, release the nominations list, and it goes to round 2. I don't know how many people are on the committees. I don't know who's on the committees. I don't know the gender and race makeup of the committees. I don't know how a committee member is chosen to sit in on the committee for the year. I don't know how they listen to the music. I don't know what the committees are told. Like, the committee point is very opaque. It's very vague. And it literally makes the Grammys less credible than the VMAs. Because at least at the VMAs, there are fan voting, right? And the VMAs, I think, at least takes YouTube views into account, right? I'm saying that. But, like, the VMAs process is that someone in Viacom CBS comes out with a nomination list and then fans vote it, and that's how they win, right? The Grammys are not like that. There's no way to track the Grammy process. So get rid of the committees. Completely, totally, right? What you do is you just do 1 round of voting. The top 8 or 5, depending on the category, songs are nominated, and then you go to a second round of voting. That's it. Will that turn it into a little bit more of a popularity contest? Yes. But I think it would give more people the chance to actually recognize the next generation of musicians as they come up, to actually recognize the people pushing the boundaries, and to give the Grammys a chance to recognize artists before they hit 60, right? Because this is what's going to happen in Nicki's case, right? Nicki Minaj is going to get old, as we all do. We grow, right? She is going to become older. She's going to get into her 50s and 60s. She will have literally inspired every female rapper out there. And then when we get to a place where the people voting in the rap categories and voting in the general categories and pop categories are the Grammy voting members and know her and look up to her and love her, and she releases a late project, right? That's when she'll get nominated and win. She won't win for any of the revolutionary stuff she did. She'll win for the stuff that she does later in life, because that's when the Grammys recognize people. Only when they're done. And that's ridiculous to me. And we really need to recognize the next generation. Like, that's what I feel like the award industry is missing. A way to recognize the next generation of pushers, of boundary pushers, right? And that the boundary pushers aren't always popular, right? But, like, when you're not nominating the biggest band in the world, literally, when you're not nominating Chloe and Halle, Beyonce's proteges, when you're not nominating The Weeknd, it's an issue. Now, I will say, I will give credit where credit is due. The Grammys are sometimes good at this. They're sometimes good at recognizing the next generation. Billie Eilish and Megan Thee Stallion are really good examples of this. Megan won a lot this year. Billie won a lot last year. They are also boundary pushers that are the next generation. I'm not discounting them, but, like, even Doja didn't win, and she's also a boundary pusher, right? Lil Nas X, he won last year. He's a boundary pusher, right? Years ago, a decade ago, it was Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift was recognized all over the place, but again, Nicki Minaj never was, so it's very all over the place. And that's the other thing, too, that I didn't say during the Rain On Me section, but, like, some of these awards have never gone to a woman, right? And you know, when an institution doesn't even reward white women, it's really bad. Like, it's very entrenched in this old conservative culture, right? And not, like, Trump conservative, like Nixon conservative, right? Reagan conservative. It's entrenched in this, like, idea that men are men and women are women, and, like, they have these ideas of how things are supposed to be, and that's how they act, which is why I know the voting rules needs to be purged, because, like, how are you sexist towards white women in 2021? Like, they're good at recognizing some artists that push the boundaries, but they're not good at recognizing other artists that push the boundaries. And I would like to see consistency, and I would also like to see the Grammys move towards that way, right? That's all for this video. shorter, and I'm assuming going to be a little easier to edit on me. So I'm very glad I refilmed this. Thank you for watching. I have a TikTok and a Twitter. It's in the description. TikTok, I think I'm gonna go on a little bit of a TikTok break, but I just don't have the time to be consistent on TikTok right now. And TikTok really needs consistency at least once a day, and I just don't have the time to dedicate to once a day at the moment. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a TikTok break. I will probably come back in May-ish to TikTok. Twitter, I will be around always. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I will be back next week. I think actually I'll be back next week with a really quick like channel flossy video. I love you. Goodbye.